This is the single biggest Mazda RX-7 meet in the country. If you like Mazda RX-7s, then you've come to the right place. My name's Pat, you're watching 2PJZ, and welcome back to the channel. And before we get started on today's video, a lot of you guys watch these videos but haven't subscribed to the channel. So just before I get into it, go down and hit that subscribe button and let's get started. So if you've watched my channel before, if you follow my Instagram, you would know that I'm a massive Mazda RX-7 fan. I actually used to own a Mazda RX-7, which is this car right behind me, funnily enough. And today we are at a huge meet of all things celebrating Mazda RX-7 for the 7th of the 7th, which around the world has become known by enthusiasts as 7's Day. So coming here today for me is a little bit of self-sabotage because I miss my RX-7 a lot. I think about it almost every day. It's the car that really got away for me. It was between my Evo Tommy Mäkinen and my R32 GTR. So it's not very often you get to bump into your previous cars, but lucky for me, this is the second time now that I've seen this car out and about. The first time was at the Collecting Cars meet, and this is my 2001, well, my old 2001 RBS, which is now owned by Steve. He hasn't really done much to it. He's put the Type RS wheels down here on the car, which look really, really nice. But other than that, he's kept it really, really original and pretty much the exact same as how I had it. You can't really see that, but there's a Apexi Power SC in there, which is the same engine control system that I had in the car when I had it. And it's just so cool to be able to see it out and about still. And this is just one of several really, really nice FDs here today. But even if you're not into FDs or you like other RX-7s, there is something here for everyone. And then you've got some older style rotary. So 7's Day is not just celebrating Mazda RX-7s, it's celebrating all things Mazda and all things rotary. So you can see over there an RX-4, you've got a 626 here, you've got an RX-3, another FC and then an FD. So just in one line of cars, there is a big celebration of all things rotary, which is what this day is all about. And it's really, really special to be here. Very sad that I can't be bringing my own car here, but you know, having something that I used to own right behind me is special enough, I think. I love Innocent Blue Mika in the sun. This color is probably the color that I'd want to get when I get another RX-7 again. So these two cars are both really cool and they really caught my eye, and I want to point them out and feature them specifically. And you might have already seen this if you're eagle-eyed, but there's one very special feature about this car if you haven't already looked in the interior, and it's this. So this is a Spirit R RX-7. The Spirit R was the last run-out sort of special edition RX-7 ever made, and they only made, I think, around 1,500 of them. I don't remember the exact specifics in terms of colors, but this blue is absolutely awesome. It's nice to see a modified one. A lot of people keep their Spirit R's stock for collectability, but as I just pointed out in the interior, you can see the carbon Kevlar Recaro seats. So these seats, if you were to buy them separately, I've seen them on Facebook and on eBay and on parts websites for around $15,000, sometimes even more. And people pay that, which is the crazy part. But a lot of people who might have bought a Type B or a Type C Spirit R, which don't have those seats, buy them to put them in. Or if you bought an RX-7, like, you know, my old one over here, which has the stock seats from factory, you might buy them to put them in. I looked at it, but there was no way that I was paying $15,000 for seats. That would have been ridiculous. This is a beautiful color. I don't know if this is a factory color or aftermarket, but it's this beautiful sort of dark green. It's got these almost bluey tinges to it as well, but this is not an FC, it's not an FD, this is an FB RX-7. So this came before the FC and before the FD. This is the original RX-7. So really, really cool to see this here. In Australia, these cars are loved. You see these a lot out on the roads. I think they came out around the 70s or early 80s. You have to forgive me for my lack of knowledge on the specifics of that, but I really, really like this color on this FB. And then behind me here as well is another highlight. This looks to be, I don't know if it's a genuine one or if it's a mock-up, but either way it's awesome. A Japanese police car, FB RX-7. That looks so cool. Police lights, and then looks like it's got some pretty serious engine work going on under the bonnet as well. You can see it's got a sequential shifter and a electronic aftermarket dash. And as we continue on down this way, it's beautiful blue stock FC. Really, really nice. Love that old school turbo sticker on the side. Then you've got another one that looks very similar to this color FC, but I think this is a slightly darker, more of a green, and then this one's more of a blue. But it's cool to see people bringing their own sort of unique and individual styles to these cars. There's a little friend in here as well. Hey buddy. I really like the styling on this one. When I had mine, I was looking at putting a similar bonnet on, but I was too scared that when it would rain, you'd get all this water that you didn't want in the engine bay. And I absolutely love this here. I think this is the modular carbon wing blade, and that's how you pronounce it, which I really wanted on my car. I think the FD's stock spoiler looks absolutely fantastic, but if you do put a carbon wing blade on it like this one, it is just that little bit more enhanced. It makes it look absolutely phenomenal, and the rear end just comes alive a little bit more, I think, than with just the stock spoiler. If you are active on social media whatsoever, you would have seen this car. I believe this is a full RE Amemiya kit. So RE Amemiya, the easiest way to tell if you're not familiar with RX7s is they come with these headlights. So RE Amemiya, get rid of the pop-up headlights and have these. You see the wide body here as well, big spoiler at the back. Now this car actually is owned by Ben, who organised this meet, so shout out to Ben. And a couple other details that I like to point out is these RE Amemiya carbon door handles look absolutely awesome. And then looking at the car from this angle, seeing all those vents, pretty sure it's all functional aero. I think it's a very like time attack style build, this car. And again, like this is the best thing about FDs, that you can totally go balls to the wall with them like Ben's done with this car, and they look absolutely phenomenal. Or you can keep them pretty much stock like this guy's done with his car. There's no bodywork, and I should say this is a Spirit R as well. There's about maybe 7 Spirit Rs that I've spotted today. But again, modular or similar brand style carbon wing blade on this one. Got some advans and some side skirt extensions, Spirit R, so it has the Recaros, which look beautiful, and then little carbon canards and front lip as well. So we're out here today again, obviously with Erin. She's done all my filming when I've not been holding the camera, so I want to shout that out and say thank you, and also get her thoughts on the Mazda RX7. So obviously she never knew me when I had my Mazda RX7, so while we're here, I want to know what you think of them. So
obviously I've heard a lot about RX7s because Pat constantly regrets selling his. Very sporty, looking very loud, and then not a fan of the pop-up headlights. So many pop-up headlights, they kind of just wick me out, to be honest. Unpopular opinion, I know.
I really want to highlight this. This is something I love. If I was going to get an FC RX7, I'd want a red one exactly like this. I love how this is styled. I'm a big fan of sort of an OEM plus type build, so for me, this ticks all the boxes. I love all the balls to the wall stuff, don't get me wrong, but if it was my personal car, I'd want something like this. And as I mentioned before, on the other FC, I always have loved the 80s stickers and badging that they put on all sorts of Japanese cars. This one is immaculate. I mean, look at the interior. That is stunning. And then coming around the back, these have such a nice looking back end too, especially with the black badges. And I think some aftermarket tail lights on this one. Then you've got a carbon diffuser at the bottom, carbon exhaust covers on the RPF ones with Nankang NS2R tires. Really nice build. Shout out to the owner of this car. And I can't forget the aftermarket Ganadors as well. Very nice. Oh, this is one of the first one of these that I've spotted today. So other than the Spirit R, Mazda also made the FD RZ. And the good thing about RX7s is that with most of the special editions of RX7s, they usually have some form of very obvious sticker placement. So you've got the Bathurst, the Bathurst R, the RZ, and the Spirit R. So the RZ is, I would say, second most special to the Spirit R. These were also incredibly limited. I think they only made these in white. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they only came in white and came with the Kevlar backed carbon Recaros, which you can't really see. I'm trying to show you a little bit. You can sort of see that there, the sort of yellowy Kevlar on the back of the Recaro. Now I don't know if anything on the engine was changed on the RZ. I do know they came with these special BBS wheels, but the owner of this car has opted for some bronze CE28s, which are my favorite Japanese wheel. They're the same wheel that I had on my R32 GTR, and I really wanted to put them on my RX7 as well. Obviously the owner hasn't wanted to go too low with this setup, just so he doesn't scrub and stuff up his guards, and why would you on such an expensive special car? And from factory, these were different to a normal RX7 like you have behind me here, because I had Bilstein shocks as well. So he might still have these in the car, which explains why the ride height looks a little bit higher than someone who would have the RX7 on coilovers like you would have here. Erin's made a friend. Hello.
This is Yogi.
Hi, Yogi. Carrying on down this way, got another FB RX7, another RZ. So this one, obviously same as the RZ that I showed you before. However, this has some Advan RG wheels on it. Compared to the previous RZ, this one also is on some coilovers, as you can tell by the ride height being significantly lower. Again, white paint, red RZ sticker if you're ever trying to spot one of these in public yourself, and the Kevlar Recaros as well. So I don't know if I mentioned before where we actually are today, and I wanted to give a shout out to Ringwood Mazda, who are hosting this event. Often Often I've heard this event is just hosted in a car park somewhere around Melbourne, but today for the first time it's a organised event with the support of not only Ringwood Mazda, which is a local Mazda dealership here in Melbourne, but the wider company of Mazda Australia. So good on you, Mazda. I absolutely love it when brands try and remember where they came from, especially with these Japanese sports cars, because they have such a cult following here in Australia and all over the world. It's really, really cool when brands who don't really make cars this special anymore recognize where they've come from and why they have such a big following now, as we have something that sounds heavily Bridgeported behind me. So this might be the single most valuable RX-7 here today, a black Spirit R. So I think I've shown you maybe 3 or 4 Spirit Rs now. This is the only one I think today here in black, which I believe is the most limited color for a Spirit R. Again, you got the Spirit R badge. You're gonna get really good at this by the end. The red Recaro seats. This, to most people, just looks like an FD race car. But if you're familiar with Australian motorsport, you would know this, and you can tell by the big spoiler at the back, which I'll show you in a sec, is an SP. SP standing for Special Project. It was commissioned by Mazda in the mid-90s to go up against Porsche with their 968 and 911 RS in Bathurst at the 12-hour and at relative motorsport events around Australia. So Porsche couldn't actually beat this car. They had a really hard time beating this car, which is why it's gone down as such a legend in Australian motorsport history. And this number plate as well here, you don't see too many of these. That's a rally permit. So that means that the car is used for motorsport, but can be used on the street to go to and from motorsport events. And then, as I mentioned before, SP standing for Special Project, and you've got this spoiler at the back that's different to the standard FD RX-7 spoiler, like you can see on this Spirit R. If you've ever seen Fast and Furious, you already know exactly what is behind me right here. So this is a Vale side kit FD RX-7. It was a car that Han drove in Fast and Furious. I've only seen a couple of these in person before. This kit obviously transforms parity of the FD from front to back. It's a completely different car. The orange and black color scheme, as I said, same as what Han drove in Tokyo Drift. The event continues all the way over this way. So we've just come from over there where there are a couple of rows of really, really nice cars, and you've got some more RX-7s. Again, another Spirit R. This is one that's interesting to show you because this isn't a Type A. I think this would be a Type B or a Type C because it doesn't have the Kevlar Recaros. Beautiful light blue FC on some Motorsport G7s. And one thing I do love about the FC2 is if you look dead center at the bonnet, the vent is off center to match up with the top mount intercooler. And so if you have OCD, it might not be the best car for you to buy. You can tell these two white FDs, both obviously FDs, but they look different. The first difference you can tell is in the front bar. So this is a Series 8 RX-7 with the integrated indicator and light down there, whereas over here you have what's called an Infinity RX-7, which I think was produced in the early 90s. And so looking at this car, the bumper is much more smooth. You've got integrated fog lights down there at the front, a smaller front lip, much less aggressive than the Series 8, which is what these are. And looking at the spoilers as well, you can see this is the spoiler that you might know and love, and then here there's a much flatter, more surfboardy type spoiler on the Infinity, and coming around the back as well, it even has a different badge. So obviously that's not the Mazda badge, and then you can tell, if you're still not sure, by the Infinity logo there. So very cool to see two white examples of what are both FD RX-7s together, but this is a, I think, Japanese import. I don't think this is an Australian delivered model of an Infinity RX-7. And then Australian delivered RX-7s. So Oz delivered RX-7s came with a sunroof, unlike the Series 8 Japanese imports that's next to it here. So no sunroof on that one, sunroof on this one. A couple visual differences like we saw with the Infinity RX-7 before is the same thing goes. So obviously when the Series 8 RX-7 has that front bumper, this one's got a color matched front lip as well. And then the much less aggressive Series 6 front bumper, which I think still looks really good, but keen to know what you guys prefer. Let me know in the comments below what you think. So I'm still absolutely blown away by this. There's so much more that I can cover, and I want to do a quick little whip around of this area just to make sure that we are seeing everything possible that we can see before we finish up. But again, like all sorts of different color RX-7s, as Aaron's taking a picture there, you've got a red one, blue one, black one, white, another blue one down there, another black one over there, and a white one too. And then back here, you've just got a whole lot more. So it's a big celebration of all things RX-7, but more so all things Mazda and all things rotary. Oh yeah. So who am I white on white fans? I absolutely love this. So white FD, with some Ganadors and a color matched front lip, rocking these white T37s. I absolutely love white on white of Japanese cars of this era. And this black one on these wicked bronze ZE40s that fill the guards perfectly. Look at that fitment, that is unreal. Seeing an FD on ZE40s makes me really happy, but also sad at the same time, because they were the wheels, besides C28s, that I was hoping to get on my old FD. And as I mentioned, the fitment on this one is absolutely perfect. Looking down the side of the car, that is unreal. If the owner of this car happens to see this video, shout out to you, because that is expertly done. Then you have another Spirit R. This is probably the 5th one that we've seen. And this color here is the Spirit R exclusive gray. So you couldn't get this color on a submodel RX7, only on the Spirit R. This one is very original, factory wheels, and this is a Type C or a Type B because it doesn't have the Recaros in it as well. Another special edition RX7. As I mentioned before, if you think it might be a special edition, come over and check the back. So you can see here, this is a Bathurst R. Bathurst R's had these beautiful Type R, same wheels as the Type RS from factory. Some 17-inch wheels that don't quite fill the guards at the front, but I still think they look really, really nice. It's the same wheels that Stephen's got on my old car. And obviously celebrating the SP's successes and Mazda's successes at Bathurst, hence giving it the name of the Bathurst R. This is really cool. This is obviously an extreme drag build. This is a Subaru BRZ that's been rotary swapped, and look at that. My God, that is incredible. I'm not even going to pretend like I know what engine this is running, what specs it is. The only thing I can tell, obviously, is that it's a massive precision turbo. This would be absolutely terrifying. But what a cool chassis to put this much work into. This is a cool little summary, and I think a good place to probably end the video. So here we've got an FB, an FC, an FD, another beautiful red FC. As I mentioned before, I absolutely love the red FCs. And then this awesome RX3, and standing in here you can still smell all the castor oil from these rotary engines, which is one of my favorite smells besides ethanol. I wish you could bottle that up and sell it. I'm going to wrap up now. There is so much more that I could show you, but I've tried to pick my highlights and my favorite things from this show. Before I do wrap up, again, I do want to remind everyone, please subscribe to the channel if you have enjoyed this video. It would help me a lot to bring you better and more consistent content across YouTube. I do a whole lot more on my short form channels, on my Instagram and my TikTok, so head down there. It's 2PJZ on those channels as well. Again, I wanted to shout out Ringwood Mazda and Mazda Australia for hosting this event, and for Ben for organising. It's an absolutely amazing show. I've never seen so many RX7s, so many Mazda rotary powered cars in one place before, so I've had an absolute ball. I hope you guys watching this have had a great time too, especially if you're in the US. I don't know if you'd get anything like this over in the US, so make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel. My name's Pat, you've watched 2PJZ, and we'll see you next time.